I don't know about you, Kate, but I'm always surprised how much more budget brands actually have if you pitch yourself and go for it. You really don't know how much budget brands have. They're always going to present something much lower than what they actually have in the tank.
Welcome to Accidentally Influential, the show for educators, experts, and creators who never meant to build a platform but want to monetize it beyond their own community. I'm Kate.
And I'm T. Combined, we've built an audience of nearly 500,000 followers and landed over $500,000 in brand deals. Now we help you turn knowledge into cash, content into partnerships, and influence into a business that pays.
You might have become accidentally influential,
but what you do with it now, that part's intentional. Let's make some money.
Hello, friends. Welcome back to Accidentally Influential. When T and I were talking about episodes that we wanted to record, I feel like this was a really big one that we were excited to get into because, let's be honest, and we've said this before in so many other podcast episodes, but like this information was nowhere to be found whenever we started creating content. And I think if someone had been like, hey, we're going to walk you through a case study of how you can turn an inbound into like a major video package, we would have ate that up. So,
totally. Especially if it were free,
I know.
No paywall.
Yeah, so we are really laying it all out there today. We are going to be walking you guys through, in classic NAICA style, not only how you can increase your paycheck as a creator, but also how you can deliver more ROI to brands. And that is going to be through a little framework that we've put together and a case study that we're going to use to showcase that to you. So
yeah,
let's jump into it.
Let's do it. We're going to walk you through how we could take a $500 offer inbound from a brand and essentially turn it into $2,500. If that blows your mind, just in general, just like thinking about a $2,500 brand package, like you haven't listened to enough Accidentally Influential episodes yet, rewind, go listen to them all. But it's going to be pretty exciting to see how this breaks down. So we're going to talk about how we leverage deliverables, add value with strategy, just not like stack random things into a package. We're going to touch on usage rates. You guys know that is like really
bread and
important.
butter.
And then how to reply to lowball offers. You don't just have to ignore them. There's a strategy and you're going to learn it.
Yeah. Absolutely. I think that kind of the problem here comes in with a lot of beginner creators, and I'm speaking from personal experience here, but I can remember my first few inbounds just feeling like I have to accept the offer that the brand presents. Because I think some brands will come in with like, hey, what are your rates on this? Whereas other brands are like, we'd love to offer you X rate for Y deliverable. And you're like, well, I guess that's the offer.
Yeah.
Did you ever feel like that, T?
Totally. Yeah. I think I don't call it a power dynamic, but like it kind of feels like that, especially when you're newer. You just like, they feel like the people that are in control and you feel like you get to accept whether or not you are buying into that control,
Right.
So I didn't really push back on a lot of rates earlier on because I didn't want to be, I don't know. First of all, I didn't know my data to be able to be like, this is the rate I want, but I didn't want to lose it. And I didn't want to be pushy or be one of those influencers that people talk about on Instagram that just throw out crazy rates.
No, I get that. No, and I feel like it is mostly a lot of limiting beliefs and lack of information and lack of transparency in the space that causes creators to accept an initial offer and not to actually go on and negotiate. So our goal today is to help teach you how to really anchor your content with value. Also, how to offer options to brands and structure those offers strategically, not just, you throw together this package because you want to offer them more stuff and you want to do more work, but like actually in a way that allows you to deliver ROI to the brands. And then finally, how to negotiate like a business owner, because you are so much more than a content creator. And that is obviously a huge theme of this podcast. So let's get into this.
Let's do it. All right. Let's hop into the case study, Kate. Why don't you take it?
Okay.
Like, here, let me talk and hand it back to you.
No, I'll take it. So we are going to be doing a little case study today. And just before we get into this, everything we're going to present is hypothetical, but also based in experiences that we have had in the industry, our experiences negotiating, and kind of industry averages. So just want to put that out there. This creator does not actually exist. This brand does not actually exist. Pretend they do.
Yeah.
It is a conglomerate of experiences. Okay. So let's pretend that we have a client. We're going to call her Stuck Sally. And Stuck Sally comes to NAICA with an inbound brand deal offer that she doesn't know how to negotiate with. For the purpose of this case study, Stuck Sally is an educator. She has 20,000 followers on TikTok and 5,000 followers on Instagram. Love that for you, Queen. Multiple platform approach. She also has an 800-person email list and
Dang,
is running
girl.
a weekly newsletter. Stuck Sally is like eons ahead of where I was at this
Same.
point.
Jeez Louise.
She also talks about a niche that we have not really talked about on this podcast before, but we're going to show you guys that these strategies can be applied in multiple different niches. She is a rock climbing content creator and focuses on making climbing feel accessible to beginners. Her content tone is often encouraging, safety forward, and very transparent, non gatekeepy, which in turn helps her have a really engaged audience. Let's put her somewhere a little bit lower than what a educator might see, but let's say 5%, which is still a
Mhm.
really engaged following,
Yeah.
which is definitely going to help her negotiate rates. And in general, her content quality is strong and informative. And so that is our client today.
I don't do rock climbing, but I would follow her. She sounds great.
She sounds so cool. Like, I actually if there are any rock climbers following us, can we work with you?
Yeah. 'Cause we got it
Because
here.
'cause, I'd love that.
Yeah.
Alright,
All
so
right.
walk us through her inbound.
Cool. So let's say that Sally opens up her email and she has an inbound offer from this brand that she knows and loves. It's not out of left field. And that brand's called Rock and Chalk. I don't know. I was like Rock and Chalk.
Rock
Writing
and
that
chalk.
writing that was like sounds great, but
I
it's
wanted to
hard to
st
say. Rock and Chalk.
I wanna start a br like, after I wrote that, I was like, "N why do I wanna start a chalk brand now?" Like, why
What's
am I like
another business,
I,
Kate?
like, looked it up, and I'm
Yeah.
like, "Wait, this isn't a chalk brand yet? Like,
Yeah.
maybe I should make one."
Seriously. Gosh, that's amazing. Maybe in another life.
I know.
I need you over here, Kate.
Okay, yeah, I'll limit myself.
So this brand is more of like a mid-sized climbing gear company. They sell harnesses, chalk bags, starter kits, all those things. And they have a really strong reputation in like local gyms and REI type retailers. Sally's, drooling a little bit at this inbound so far. But they've been wanting in their inbound, they talk about how they've been wanting to tap into their creator economy. And like partner with creators to make climbing feel less intimidating, something that beginners can start. And so their inbound email says something along the lines of, "Hi, Sally. We love your content and the way you make climbing feel approachable for beginners. We're launching a new Rock and Chalk starter kit next month and think you'd be a great fit to help promote it. We can offer you $500 for one TikTok video reviewing and featuring the kit. Let us know if you're interested."
Alright. Pretty standard inbound, like, let's be
Mhm.
honest.
Yeah.
Honestly, and actually, I've seen a lot worse, if we're being real. Some brands will come in and be like, "We'd love to send you this for free and
Yeah.
have you review it." Don't take that. Like, you
No.
should be paid,
Yeah.
especially if you have 20,000 followers. We're talking cross-posted content. You should be paid for your content. So, not the worst we've ever seen, also not the best, but this is a pretty standard, normal starting offer. It's not insulting to the creator. It's actually very, very workable, but you
Mhm.
should not just be like, "Oh my gosh, yes, I'd love it. I'll actually do it for 250. Don't do that." Like, that is an entry level offer that we can then increase from there using our level framework.
Yes. And I just wanna note, like, I don't know if you sense the tone in that email, but, like, there are some inbounds that come in that you could tell it's, like, mass sent to creators. Like,
Right.
you're just another number. Um, but these, like, more warmer inbounds, it's giving you a door open to negotiate because it's personalized. It's like they've probably watched your content, and so it's important to kind of, like, take that into consideration when you're reading through these emails. Um, so the level framework. This is our NAICA guide to help you level up a lower starting offer into a 4-figure partnership. So each letter stands for something. The L stands for lock in the value. E, expand the package. V, voice the why. E, email the counter. L, land the partnership. So we're going to break down each one of these for you guys and walk through Sally's specific pitch and how she's leveling up her rate.
Yeah, let's get into it. And let's start with L. So L stands for, like T said, lock in the value. This is the stage where you, as a creator, responsible for anchoring your value and reiterating what you are actually bringing to this partnership. So, once again, as creators, I think it's really easy to just think a brand is there to compliment you and say, like, we love your content. We'd love to work with you. Your job then is to compliment the brand back and make them an offer that they cannot refuse. So, before you counter anything in any response that you're going to send to the brand, you want to establish what you're anticipating the brand's goal is, why you are a strategic fit to partner with them, what goes into a high converting video on your page, and you also want to establish credibility, alignment, and relevance with your existing audience. This really sets the stage so that you are not just talent, you are not just someone they're hiring as an actor to read a script, you are a strategic partner to that brand. Um, it's so important, and it's something I feel like is so overlooked in the
Yeah.
creator space.
Yeah. I mean, especially in the beginning, you just like when you're getting these inbounds, your brain just tells you that you're delivering content. Like that's they want content, I'm going to deliver content, and so I'm going to rate content, but really you are a marketing partner and that's what they're hiring you to do. So, let's take Sally's example. Her big goal is to take this $500 offer and make it feel like an unrealistic number without ever even talking about numbers yet with this brand. So, she's going to show up and do a few different things. First, she's going to communicate that she understands the goal of this brand. So, based off of the minimal information that Rock and Chalk included in that initial pitch, they want to help beginner climbers feel less intimidated by rock climbing. And be able to bridge that gap between just starting and feeling more comfortable on the wall. Um, this is what Sally does every day in her content. Like she's already educating on all of these things. So this brand is really a perfect fit into her educational based content
Yep.
already. So many words.
I know.
Oh gosh. So Sally's going to position herself as a natural fit because she really is. Like she already is without even have to overly convincing. So she's going to highlight why she's a perfect fit. She can say things like, I have 20K on Instagram, I have 5K on TikTok, vice versa. I switch them up.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
That's typically how it goes. I mean, not to say that it can't go the other way too, but I would say typically it does go the other way.
it's totally easier to build a community on TikTok. And her audience are beginner climbers. Like those are the people that are in her audience. So make sure she highlights that. Her 5% engagement rate is really, really good. And that should definitely be highlighted in her media kit and in the email. And the fact that it's niche specific is gold. Third, she can definitely highlight that 800 person email list that people are actively consuming and actively learning from her on a
Yeah.
weekly basis. And then, and or I want to caveat
Yeah.
here. You don't need to this doesn't need to be
This
a
isn't a
giant
resume.
list. Yeah, exactly.
This is
These are
not
some
your CV.
ideas. Yeah. These are some ideas on how to anchor in value, not exhaustive lists to do in every single email. But to highlight her, you know, content style, how she shows up naturally, encouraging, like builds trust with her audience, and how her audience interacts with her content. So just a few ways that she can show the value of her content. And then third, Sally can subtly elevate her perceived value as a content creator. So she can remind them that she creates very safety forward content, which is value of the brand. Instructional content. So she's teaching and building trust. She has approachable tutorials, that this brand and their product can be easily integrated into. So these types of things are starting to elevate her and her value without ever being like, yeah, I'm worth 2,500 bucks, you know?
Right. Percent. And I think even as a creator, like she said, you don't have to list every single one of these things out to a brand, but I think sometimes it helps before you go to the negotiating table to kind of remind yourself who you are.
Yeah.
Because confidence is a huge part of this, being able to show up and say, I am a strategic brand partner. I'm not just a content creator. So even if you're just doing this to remind yourself who the heck you are, and then you want
Totally.
to pick and choose what you actually share with the brand, that's totally fine too. And in fact,
Mhm.
highly encouraged.
Yeah. No, I totally agree.
Yeah. So once you have done that, the next step is obviously E, and that stands for expanding the package. This is my favorite part of negotiating. As a content creator, when we talk about getting bigger deals, getting larger deals, and delivering more ROI, this is where that happens. So, expanding the package is where you turn a simple $500 video posted on one platform into something that is dramatically bigger than that. So now we're going to expand beyond base organic content, but we're also going to talk about cross posting. We are going to maybe pitch things like story sets for increased conversions. We are definitely going to talk about ad rights. And finally, multi video bundles are magic. And we will do a future podcast episode all about bundles. I think this is something that T and I have done a really great job at incorporating in our career as content creators. But ultimately, we just want to provide choices and options for the brand that kind of ladder us into that four-figure space.
Totally. And like there's a lot of psychology that goes into this. The whole goal, and we're going to show you a few options that Sally can present to this brand, but the whole goal is to position the package that you actually really want to deliver the brand as the obvious yes. Like it should be a no brainer that they look at that option and it's like, I'd be an idiot not to take this option. And so how you position all of the other options and all of the other packages really points to that as, you know, the package that you want them to lead with. Um, and I'm going to drop these options down in the notes of this so you guys can see. It's kind of hard without the visual. But an example that Sally could lead with is 3 to 4 options. And each option kind of increasing in value. So the first option would be just an organic TikTok video, your like base package. This is like the obvious no package. I like to think of it like, you know, the way you position this is an absolute no way. So this would just be one video on TikTok, no ad usage rights, obviously no exclusivity, with a $700 base rate for that video. Option B would be kind of like that next level. This would be taking that video and cross posting it to both of her audiences. So one TikTok video repurposed over to Instagram, maybe 1 to 2 story slides because she has, you know, a pretty engaged following. So that increases that rate quite a bit. So that package could be $1,200 to $1,500. Um, Third option, which, you know, if you can't tell by the end of these options, is really the package that Sally wants to drive home for this brand. So this is option B, but with ad rights. So everything that we just talked about, but layering 30 days of paid ad usage to that package. And so that adds about $300 to $400 to that $1,200 to $1,500 package. So we're getting really close to that $2,000 point. All right, and that leaves us with our final option. So this is kind of like your Hail Mary. This is, you know, if you were to have your dream package, you're going to put it in here. A, because it's probably going to make option C look even better. And B, like, what do you have to lose? Like, the worst they
Right.
can do is say no. So, an option D is your multi video gear series. And that is 2 to 3 TikTok and reels over 30 days, story sequence in their Instagram stories, 30 to 90 day ad rights, which sounds really juicy to a brand, especially,
Hmm.
you know, if you know you've done some educating on that. Optional email placement if you dangled that 800 if Sally dangled that 800 person email list, and then the rate would be between $2,000 and $3,000. That sounds really good to you.
Yeah.
It sounds really good to me. And just a reminder, like, you don't need to put 4 options.
Mhm.
This is really brand dependent, and it's really, based off of the conversation that you're having, what you understand about the brand, how you as a strategic partner sees, what's best for the brand. But the whole point of this option A through D with Sally's example is just to get you to start thinking about how you can strategically present different packages and position the best one as the obvious yes. So hopefully you land it.
Yeah. And obviously, I think like when we talk about an obvious yes, when we compare that initial package, which was Sally is going to come back with like, hey, my rate is actually $700 for one TikTok
Mm,
versus this final package where they're getting twice the deliverables cross posted plus ad rights plus a story sequence. Like it just makes so much more sense for the brand to increase budget and get way more with it.
yeah. Yeah. Especially like, I don't know about you, Kate, but I'm always surprised how much more budget brands actually have if you pitch yourself and go for it. You really don't know how much budget brands have. They're always going to present something much lower than what they actually have in the tank.
Yeah, absolutely. So, and I mean, I think also I like to think of it when I'm offering brands like a larger bundle. I will offer discounted rates on
Mhm.
particular deliverables because I want to set myself up to be able to have like an ongoing partnership with the brand. So I think that's something to keep in mind too is like technically your rate per deliverable is going to be less in this case.
Mhm.
However, it's a win for you and it's a win for the brand
Yeah, totally.
because it's a larger package as a whole. So okay. Well, with that being said, let's move on to V, which is voicing the why. And once again, the important thing here is that we are going to talk from your experience as a business owner, as a creator, why the brand should say yes to a larger package and why this makes more sense for them.
Yeah, this is an opportunity really to flex yourself, as we've said a million times, as a strategic partner, not just like a content mule. Like you are a
Hmm.
partner, you're bringing strategy to the table. You are an educator and you've done content. You know your audience, you know how to create content that converts. And so this is an opportunity for you and Sally to flex that. So when it comes to Sally's example, she is going to cement herself as a creator that can create results for this brand with her content. And so here are a few different ways that she can approach doing that by showing explicit examples. So the first option, she can explain the value of cross posting her content. So for example, when I cross post to Instagram too, we have an opportunity to share this piece of content to two separate audiences. There's no overlap there. They're really getting access to two audiences with one video. So something that she could say here is, for example, my hydration pack tutorial last month got 4,000 views on TikTok, but 41,000 views on Instagram. Cross posting made that campaign a complete success. Like we would not have been able to get the reach that we did without cross posting to both platforms. So notice how she explains the value and then gives an example from her content to kind of paint that picture for the brand. Um, a second option that Sally could take, another example, is to explain how her audience typically responds to when she posts in her Instagram stories. So say that her, audience DMs her constantly every single time she posts about gear that she's using, as a climber herself. She can say in this email, for example, when I worked with a chalk brand earlier this year, the organic post itself performed really well, but the stories drove 80% of the clicks and ultimately sales because I could talk to my audience directly, and that's the relationship that I have with my audience. So once again, she's explaining the value and then bringing stats and examples to really drive that home as to why that's going to bring value to the brand.
Right. And these are not just made up stats. Not that I think anybody listening to this podcast would be like, you're not just guesstimating. Like,
No. Yeah.
I think about 80%. Like, this is where your media kit comes in. This is where your average story clicks. And this is where positioning yourself as a strategic partner in all of your partnerships, getting data on your performance is really important because it can be used to leverage future deals.
Yeah.
So, just a little note there. Now that we've done all of this, we are going to get into the scary part, or at least what a lot of people think is the scary part, which hopefully will not feel as intimidating after today's episode. And that is E, which actually stands for emailing over the counter offer. This is where you execute. And I know that execution can feel intimidating because there's always a chance a brand can say no. But essentially, your only responsibility here is to provide the brand with an organized breakdown of the packages that you can present, give them clear pricing, a friendly, collaborative approach to this, and once again, an approach that's rooted in strategy and not just in emotion and compliments. So, T,
Yeah.
show us what that
Ex
looks like.
yeah. I feel like the emotion part is so like important to note. I feel like I didn't even realize how much I was responding from emotion when I first, started working with brands, and getting lowball pitches and all of those things. Like there was definitely emotion involved. And I think that's just such a point to reconcile with. Um, and when you do all of these works like L through V, you've really positioned yourself to show up with strategy and grounded from a place with data. So, um, all right. So, since Sally has been working with Kate and I in the NAICA Creator Club, she is fully prepared to send a structured response back to this brand. And that can sound, a little something like this. So, starting off with a very warm introduction. Thanks so much for reaching out. Um, I love your brand because of X, Y, and Z. I love what you're building at Rock and Chalk. Every time I say that, I'm like, Rock and Chalk.
I literally like want to go climbing
I
after
know.
this. Like I'm like I want to take this partnership.
Yeah, seriously. She can continue like the starter kit is a really great fit for my audience because of X, Y, and Z, especially those just getting into climbing. And then she can start dropping, a short summary of their goals, all those things that we prepared in L, and her understanding of what the brand needs. Second, drop 2 to 3 packages, everything you've prepared in the, is it V? Options A, B, and C, making sure you're positioning likely the option B as the package that you really want the brand to go for because you know it's best for them. Make sure you have clear pricing, timeline, and deliverables, like no questions asked. And then, wrap it up from there. But that approach really allows Sally to come across as collaborative, aligned with the brand, and like she knows what she's talking about, like a strategic partner, because that's what she is. And then because Sally tuned into Accidentally Influential and she's just like so prepared to position herself, she's going to land option B and she's going to make the money that she knows that her brand is valued at. And it's going to feel really good and really aligned.
Yeah, I mean this is really where you see that jump from a $500 inbound to a potential $2,000 plus package because
Mhm.
you are going to land bigger partnerships when you know how to strategically set yourself up to earn them. This is not just like you get an inbound and think how many other creators out there just respond and they're like, sure, sounds good.
Mhm.
Um, no, you are setting yourself up to look different. I mean, even just the act of adding metrics into a response, like I would say 90% of creators don't do that when they
Mm.
respond.
No, absolutely. And like I've been talking to a brand recently and numerous times engaging with this brand. Um, they shared how different it was to engage with a creator that talks about statistics, talks about engagement rate, and kind of just like is prepared to have a conversation on ROI. Like, even from a basic standpoint, that is going to set you apart from so many other educators in the market.
Yeah, absolutely. So, obviously, just to reiterate, the final step of this is L, which stands for landing the partnership.
The partnership.
This is where the brand ultimately selects package, you confirm the scope, and then you guys actually agree to start working together. So, let's say, T, in a perfect world, um, knowing that Sally's armed with all of the knowledge, what does she land?
I would say a hypothetical outcome could look like Sally closing at 4 to 5 times the original offer without feeling like she like forced a hand or was pushy or, like it was strategy and she feels really, really good about it. So, like I said before, Rock and Chalk's going to come back, say option B looks great, looks fantastic. We want the ad rights, 30 days. We'll probably come back for more if the video when the video performs well. So the final package that she's delivering, it used to be a one video on TikTok. She's now delivering one TikTok video cross-posted to Instagram as well, 3 to 5 story slides, 30 days of ad rights, and an option for the brand to whitelist or spark it depending on, if that's something that the brand does. So between $2,000 and $2,300 for that package, $500 to four figures, multiple four figures is just yum. That sounds good to me.
I know. And I think not only that, but we're also setting Sally up to be able to come back at the end of this partnership and say, hey, this worked really well. We were able to convert, this many people. How about we do it again next month? How about we do it again next quarter? Something like that, where she feels like she's set up to then go back after this partnership and ask to work with them again. Because you have that option as a creator. Like, I can't tell you the amount of times that I've gotten brand deals to renew just because I
Mhm.
asked. And I was like, hey, loved working with you guys. Do you want to do it again for another quarter?
Yeah.
And brands are like, oh, yeah, like we'd love to.
Yeah.
All you have to do is ask.
Yeah, it's like a win-win for both the creators and the brand. Like it's less prep work, it's they trust you already. They know that you produce quality content, and for you, you know the brand, you know it aligns with your audience, like
Yeah.
total win-win.
Yeah, absolutely. We talk a lot on this show about taking yourself seriously as a creator, and that means setting yourself up like a real business.
That's why we're really excited to be partnering with Taylor Brands. They're an all-in-one platform that helps creators and entrepreneurs like you and me form their LLCs and get their business organized.
When T and I decided to make Not an Influencer Creator Agency official, we actually used Taylor Brands to form our LLC, and the process was honestly so simple.
We were able to file from our laptops at home in like less than an hour. They walked us through the entire process step by step, and we were able to track the status of our filing right from within our Taylor Brands dashboard.
Taylor also offers additional services like helping you get your EIN or set up your business bank accounts, so once your LLC is filed, you've got what you need to keep moving forward.
Plus, tools like their finance manager can help you track your income and expenses as you grow, which, let's be real, is the part most creators avoid.
If you're a content creator ready to treat your platform like a business, search Taylor Business Builder to get started today. So I think before we kind of close out this episode, we should do a little lightning round, because I know
Ooh.
that people listening to this are probably like, okay, but what if? Or what if this happens? Or what if that happens? Because let's be real, if I had listened to this the first time through, I'd be like, but I would have a million questions. So I'm going to put you on the spot. I'm going to ask you a what if question, and then you can ask me one, but you
Okay.
have to go first.
I honestly did not look at these ahead of time, so I'm like, okay.
You're going to be fine.
Yeah.
So what would you do if a brand came back to you and said they didn't have budget?
All right, this is a really good question. And honestly, like if I were to be completely transparent, I don't get this very often anymore. And I think that comes from like learning how to position myself well and really sell the value and the ROI of content to a brand, but it doesn't mean I've never gotten this. I think first and foremost, for me, it's really important to know if this is a brand that I really, really want to work with or not. Like, how invested am I into working with this brand and hopefully developing a long-term partnership. If this is kind of like a one-off thing, I'd probably step back and I wouldn't push very hard. But if it's a brand that I really want to work with long-term, I think first and foremost, I would want to understand what their budget is, and I wouldn't be afraid to ask that and paint the picture that like, okay, I love your brand. I think the alignment with my community is incredible. And as an opportunity to serve my community, I want to find a place that feels good to both you and your budget and is a representation of the value that my content brings to brands. And so opening up that conversation to continue to negotiate. I think like it's important if a brand's coming to you with with a budget and we're expecting them to negotiate and bend. I think it's important for me, if it's a brand I value and want to work with, I also have to be in that position. So that's probably how I would initially respond. And if it's not a brand that I see a long-term partnership, I would not be afraid to just be like, now's might not be the greatest time to work together, and that's okay. But leave the
Yeah,
door open for the future.
I think that makes total sense.
Yeah.
And I would probably respond in a very similar way.
Go team.
Go team.
All right, so my turn. Uh, what if they ghost you after you send the rates? What would Kate do?
Okay, this happens. Like, I will totally say, like, this has absolutely happened. I would say the most frequent reason this happens is because a brand literally opened your email and just forgot to respond. Like, I mean, we had that happen this week with, like,
Yeah,
we sent
it's
over
true.
we sent over something for a
Yeah,
brand to look over, and we never heard back, and so you just follow up and
yeah,
say, "Hey, just checking in, like, I'm still really interested in this. I'd still love to find a way to make this work. Let me know where you're at and what you're thinking." I would say that's, like, the first step, and I would not take it personally, like, if they ghost you, they're probably not doing it on purpose.
yeah,
I would say typically if a brand is really not interested, they will, like, close the door.
yeah.
Like, they
They'll
will say,
respond.
"Hey, unfortunately, we don't have budget on this campaign. We'll keep you in mind for future campaigns." And you have to be okay with that sometimes. I mean, that's happened to me where brands have been like, "We don't have budget right now." A few months later, they come back and all of a sudden they do. So,
Yeah, and
they're
we'll
probably
talk.
yeah.
Sorry.
No, I was just gonna say, like, I don't think brands do this on purpose.
No, absolutely not. And like we'll talk about in other episodes that the time of the year really matters in terms of like how much budget a brand has. So even having that knowledge in your back pocket could go a long way in terms of how you like internalize receiving rejections from that standpoint.
Yeah. Okay, I'm gonna do one last one for you. And I feel
Hmm.
like this is a good one for you because maybe this is something that T a few years ago actually would have
Oh boy.
said. Um, what if I'm just scared to negotiate?
I love that. T a few years ago would definitely say that. And honestly, like I mean, I don't want to put myself on a pedestal at all. Like it's still like not the most comfortable thing to do. You're basically going to bat as to why you're the bomb. Like that's just like in any way, shape, or form in life, that's hard to do. Um, but if I'm scared to negotiate, like the golden ticket is having tangible, like tangible data to bring to the table. Like the more prepared you are, like factually as to why this is a fantastic fit, like not why, like, you know, why you want it and why like you love the brand so much and your audience would love the brand. Like, that's not enough to create a strong negotiation, but like factually with your engagement rate, with how your content performs, examples, um everything we've talked about today, like communicating your understanding of the brand's campaign goals, all of these things. Like I'm telling you, I've had brands come in that I want to land so bad. Like that feeling of being nervous that they're going to reject you because you want to work with them so bad, like it doesn't go away. Like you value these brands and you really want to work with them. And so I'm not immune to that, but like the more I bring to the table and actually go through this levels process and prepare and stand behind my rates, like the easier it gets, especially when like I've learned to position myself as a partner and bring strategy to the table, not just like a piece of content. You know what I mean? So in all, prepare, which sounds like lame. Also, read this book that Kate and I are reading, which I cannot remember the title of, but it's so good and it's completely changing my perspective on negotiating, like completely. What's the book called, Kate?
Never split the difference.
Yes, it is
It's
so
so
good.
good. We'll link it in the show notes.
Yeah.
But yeah, that book is great. I also think that not that I guess I'm answering the question that I asked, but like
Kate loves negotiating though, so
if you don't mind me,
yeah.
I was just gonna say anything that you haven't done before is scary. Like posting your first TikTok is scary. Posting your first, I don't know, riding a bike at the beginning is scary. Like going to the gym for the first time when you have never been to a new gym is terrifying. It gets a lot easier the more you do it. So just like
Yeah.
get the reps in. And you
Yeah.
might not be good at it at first, and that's okay. You can learn as
Yep.
you go.
And there are always more brands.
Always, always,
Always more
always,
brands.
always.
Yep.
T, do you want to hit him with an exercise?
Yeah. So, as you guys know, we always like to end these episodes with a challenge, something that you can actually go and do because we're not about just consuming and living with this knowledge and not allowing it to make you more money. So, today we walked through the level framework with with Sally's example, we want you to go through and use the level framework with an inbound that, you have sitting in your email right now. Or if you don't have any inbounds, like I'm sure you can find one somewhere. Just like practice going through as if this were a live interaction with another brand. Um, or make up a hypothetical situation just so the whole goal is like you are creating reps before you actually have to set a PR, if we're going off of what Kate was saying. So that's our challenge to you guys.
Yeah, I think that that's a really great exercise to go through. And hey, a little manifestation never hurt anybody. So you want to work through this with the dream brand that you have in mind that you want to work with someday? Do it. Who knows? Someday you might be like, wow, I don't even have to redo this work.
It was in my Google Drive waiting.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, thank you guys so much, as always, for listening to another episode of Accidentally Influential. Please leave us a review. If you have any creator friends, share this podcast or just DM us and let us know what you thought. Or if you have any ideas for upcoming episodes, we would love to hear from you. We are also so excited to say that we are launching our creator club very soon. We don't have an official launch date yet, but we'll link our waitlist in the show notes and jump on that, because if you're on our waitlist, you'll be the first to know. You'll probably get some discounted pricing as well, because we love a deal. So I think that's it for today, guys. We'll see you next week.
See you guys.
Bye.